Thank you everyone for coming, and let's dive into it. Before my question, I would like my panelists to maybe briefly introduce themselves, and so you get to know them a bit more. So I will start with Rolf. We were here last year. We talked about some problems that we experience now, like visa issues, the flights and things like that. But what would you say, Rolf, the destinations should do in 2024 to attract Chinese tourists, to work with Chinese tourists? What are the essentials?
First of all, welcome to Berlin. I apologize deeply for our German strike efficiency, and unfortunately will also affect this ITB. But it is the way it is, and we are still living in a quite changing world. And what you just said is that we're still not there where we were thinking we would be right now. I mean, visa policies is still a big issue. Luckily, China has opened up a lot, and that really helps a lot and gives some push. Air industry is still not yet at the level as we thought. We just joined a conference last week in Langkawi, where we also talked to many Chinese airlines. So domestic travel in China is really up. International flights still growing. And what is really good, just to add up on that, for Germany is that finally, at the end of March, we will have bilateral talks between China and Germany again, talking about traffic rights. But because what we really need, as is talking just about our destination, is more direct flight connectivity, and I hope that that will really come later this year, latest in 2025. And what can destinations do? Simply answer the question, what can I influence, what can I not influence as a destination? I can influence my own product. For that, I don't need any external developments. It's up to me to develop my product, to make it China ready, and especially to listen to the Chinese markets, to colleagues like my friend here to the right, who are really the market experts. How has the consumer behavior changed in China? What do I need to adapt to my product? And that is something you can always do. What you cannot influence is, of course, external developments, the visa issues, but also there you can do your lobbying. And lobbying, I think, is really, really important to convince politicians that there needs to be done more to connect people. And those kind of things you always have to keep in mind. Of course, air connectivity, also lobbying. So the main question is, what can I influence? What can I not influence? And there's a lot of things you can do if you do your homework.
Thank you. Very stoic reply, as always. My next question would go to Wolfgang. Wolfgang, maybe just a few words about yourself, and then there were some predictions, that this year we will go back to 2019 numbers. What do you think about it? Is it possible?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to continue my cooperation with WTCF and with Messe Berlin, of course, as well. My name is Wolfgang Georg Alt. I've been working for the last 45 years on China and tourism. So I've seen a lot of the development happening before the pandemic and now. So what we can see this year, we're looking at the numbers. So in 2023, we had about 44% of 2019 level of Chinese outbound trips. And for the Chinese New Year period, last month, we had about 57% of the 2019 level. So we see there is an improvement. It is slower than we expected for many reasons, but certainly by the end of the year, if nothing unexpected happens, China will be back as the #1 international tourism source market in the world. And I've been asked by many people, so yeah, but you read in the media the Chinese economy has big problems, which as a part of the global economy is obviously the case. But I think we have to keep in mind there are about 100 million Chinese people who have enough money to visit Berlin or long distance traveling. And these 100 million people may not get richer so quick anymore, but they still have enough money for $5,000 or $10,000 for a trip to Europe or to Africa or wherever. So that is therefore also we have to keep in mind not all travel is leisure tourism. So a lot of Chinese people and companies have invested, so they have to, there's business travel. A lot of young Chinese fortunately come to study with us. So they're coming here and their parents coming and visit them. You have MICE tourism, you have health tourism. So there's a lot of other things also happening. One thing to say, if you allow me, is of course, arrival numbers are not the whole story. So this is something I think also in other discussions we had today already, people are saying, yeah, looking at climate change, looking at sustainability, it's not just quantitative growth, it has also to be qualitative improvement. And that's for outbound and also for inbound. So I'm happy I can tell you that in September I will be involved in organizing a conference in Zhangjiajie in China on sustainable tourism in China, which I think is the first of its kind. So it's so we as host destinations have to be more sustainable and also talk about it. I think a lot of people in China are very interested. So part of this demand changes is that green issues are also more in the mind now, especially of the younger Chinese people. But it's also in China that this topic is coming up. And so therefore, there is still no way to ignore the Chinese market. It's big and growing, but of course it has changed. So most Chinese tourists are more careful with their money than before. So and they're more insisting on value for money. So that and of course with all the travel experience they had, they know better what they want. They can compare better what they want to do, and so therefore you need to relearn what the new Chinese outbound tourism market is asking for. So how many Chinese people will travel is not only the question from their market, but it's also the question, of course, how good we are in offering them activities, if this is in Qatar or in Berlin, so that they feel it's a good idea to go.
Thank you, Wolfgang. I think the good takeaway is that we need to work on sustainability. Well, what I wanted to add is that even though Chinese economy is not growing that fast as before, like 10%, but it's still growing at 5 or 6%, which is much better than some of the countries. So please keep that in mind when targeting to Chinese market. My next question would go to Philip. Philip, also maybe a short introduction. And Qatar's goal is to attract 6 million international visitors by 2030. And my question is, what percentage of that you plan to attract Chinese visitors? And maybe elaborate a bit on that.
Sure. Quick introduction. I'm Phil Dickinson, so I head up all of the international markets, our activity with the travel trade globally, and MICE as well. So China's important for us, and Qatar overall in terms of tourism's on a growth trajectory that we sort of set out on that journey on a strategy that was signed off in 2019. Timing's everything, huh? To get everything geared up with a 2-year run just before the World Cup in 2022. But basically, China was one of our fastest growing markets from 2014 to 2019. So we saw 118% growth in that 5-year period. Only Germany was growing at a faster pace. So we're very invested in the China market. China only reopened again for us, like a lot of destinations. We were in sort of one of the batches that reopened in August last year. And the numbers we saw from August through till December last year were outpacing again what we benchmark against 2019. So we're on a nice trajectory curve. I mean, it's still a smaller percentage than some of our sort of mainstream markets, our bigger markets, which are on our doorstep, like Saudi Arabia is a big one for us, or Kuwait or the UK, some of our traditional European markets. But as I said, growing very well. We tiered our markets into tier 1 and sort of tier 2 in terms of our strategy, and China is a tier 1 market for us. So it's very important, along with those other tier 1 markets, like big ones like Saudi, UK, Germany, USA. So as I said, we're invested in those markets. We'll be doing a lot of consumer campaigns, as well as working closely with the trade. We have a full-time rep office with a footprint in all the tier 1 cities. And in terms of the destination, as some of you may or may not know, but I mean, Qatar's gone through an enormous amount of infrastructural changes in terms of our tourism product. That journey sort of started back in 2010. It wasn't just for the World Cup. It was to create these pillars, these economic pillars: sustainability, environment, technology, innovation, a great place to sort of live and work. Safest country in the world officially. It's visa-free. You were talking about visas. It's visa-free for the Chinese market to come into Qatar. We have great airlift coming in from China with Qatar Airways serving all the major cities, and now recent announcement with Xiamen Air flying 9 times a week. And China Southern have just announced that they're going to fly in. I think Shenzhen Airlines are looking as well. So obviously, to have any success as a destination, you need the airlift and the accessibility visa-wise. So we tick those boxes. And I think the other great thing for China into Qatar is that there's so much you can see and do in a short period of time. I mean, it's sort of Instagram heaven in Qatar. They're massive into their architecture and culture and art, and all these beautiful new hotels to complement the historic side with our beautiful museums and traditional souks and stunning desert scenery and desert sort of adventures that you can do. So we've a great culinary scene as well. So I think there's a lot for the Chinese traveller, and we're very, again, to be China ready, we make sure we've got a lot of Chinese speakers, we've got Chinese tour guides, there's obviously an abundance of Asian restaurants for people to enjoy as well. So as I said, we're very heavily invested in China. We see the potential, we see it as continuing to be one of our fastest growing markets, and it's going to become more and more important. And I think the other big figure as well is not just as a point-to-point for leisure and MICE or bleisure. We're doing a lot. You've probably seen there's a huge amount of events that Qatar's been hosting. The most recent was the AFC, the Asia Cup, of which China was participating. Obviously, we had the World Cup at the back end of 2022, which was huge, but we've just had the Web Summit. We've had the Food Festival. We've had the Shopping Festival. We've had the aquatics going on. We've had the tennis, golf. So it's going to give people more and more reasons to come, not just for a great holiday experience or a stopover or a MICE event. So as I said, we're very China ready, invested in the market, and as I say, we can only see sort of continued growth in the sort of following years to come.
Thank you. Hello? Thank you. Is there some particular experiences that Chinese tourists love the most that you have noticed? Oh, this is, kind of...
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, I think the desert experience is always popular because we've got sort of quite a unique. We've got huge dunes, but we're unique in that the desert sort of goes down to meet the sea. We have the inland sea as well. So I think people love to see the fabulous sunsets. They like to do the dune bashing. They like to do the sand skiing, the quad biking, the paragliding, all the sort of fun stuff they can do in the desert. I think that's good, but I think the cultural side of Qatar as well. We have a fabulous, well, not just one, but we have 2 or 3 amazing souks that people can go and visit and learn a bit about the history and the culture. They can play Damas, the local checkers game with a local. They can enjoy some local food. They can buy some local ornaments or spices and things like that. So it's not a souk that's there for the tourist. It's a souk that's there for very much for everybody. So that's a proper sort of immersive experiences, and our world-class museums and architecture as well. I think that's very popular. As I said, in terms of Instagram, there's so many beautiful sites that people can go and enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good good to know. Alan, maybe shortly introduce yourself. And Alan is working with the inbound market, right, to China. So maybe tell us a bit, also with this like new policy that some countries can enjoy now visa-free travel to China, and what are the places that foreigners like the most in China?
Yes, thank you, Richard. China inbound tourism industry has gradually recovered after the lifting of the anti-epidemic measures since in March 2023. According to China Immigration Bureau, the number of foreigners entering China increased to 35 million in 2023, recovering to the 36% of 2019. There are 4 points I would like to simply talk about, which I believe will help the increase of China inbound tourism. First is the visa. China visa procedures continue to be simplified, and visa-free country has increased to 11, and the number of 144 transit visa-free country has increased to 52. And second is the transportation. The international flights to China and from China has increased to 4,782 flights per week in January 2024. And third is the mobile payment. China mobile payment has launched the international version, and international credit cards like Visa card, MasterCard can be used to register China mobile payment like Alipay and WeChat Pay. And fourth is the promotion. China tourism authorities and tour operators have participated in different travel fairs like WTME in London, ITB in Berlin, and travel fairs in Singapore, and travel shows in America to promote China inbound tour products. And first is the and also according to the preliminary booking status of my company, we are expecting the individual travelers and the tourist groups increase to 50% of the level of 2019. And as one of the biggest travel destinations in the world, China has attracts millions of tourists, international tourists, every year. So the most popular cities for international travelers in China include Beijing, the capital city of China, Xi'an, which is famous for the terracotta warriors, and Luoyang, famous for the Chinese Kung Fu in Shaolin Temple, and Suzhou and Hangzhou, well known for the beautiful gardens, and Shanghai, also known as Oriental Pearl, and also Guilin, famous for the beautiful sceneries, and also some cities in South China like Guangzhou, Macau, and Hong Kong, and also the cities in southwest China like Chengdu, famous for pandas, and Guizhou, also famous for beautiful landscapes and splendid minority cultures, And also like the Yangtze cruise in the Three Gorges and the cities along the Silk Road, and also the misery land of Tibet. So China is ready for international tourists, and so that's we are expecting the increase of China inbound tourism.
Thank you, Alan. I think it's great news for some countries enjoying visa-free, as well as being able to link Visa and MasterCards to Chinese payment systems like Alipay and WeChat. Everyone knows, when visiting China, it was kind of a bit pain in the past, to going around with cash where nobody's using cash anymore and you don't know how to get around, but that's solved now. So here we have some questions on Slido. The first one is, do we have figures for China's cruise market? I believe so. Wolfgang, maybe, do you have any of these figures, or maybe we need to send them?
Yeah, well, I don't have very current numbers, but clearly the cruise market has started again in China, but it is mostly regional. And it's from the numbers I've seen, it's almost exclusively cruises starting from Chinese harbors. So we don't see, I think maybe you can support this. So we don't see many Chinese going somewhere else, like to Florida or to the Mediterranean, and start a cruise there. So it is a lot of this is really, and also cruises are normally very short. So it's rather 3 days. So have the experience, take all the pictures, and then, okay, tick, done. So therefore, the Chinese cruise market is very different from what the cruise markets are in other countries. So and this is still something where I think we have, well, not Berlin, I'm afraid, we have to do more to attract Chinese tourists to, let's say, normal cruises in outside, starting outside of China.
We saw some, we saw some strong numbers actually, just coincidentally, but I was looking at the numbers for our January and February, because we opened a huge grand terminal, $2 billion facility, unbelievable, got an aquarium in it, got an art gallery in it, viewing deck, sensational. You can walk from the cruise terminal directly into to the museums, to the souk. It's a fantastic facility, and we've got scheduled 120 cruise ship calls coming in, mega ships coming in, so all the big names, MSC coming in, Costa, AIDA, NCL, Silversea. I was just looking at the numbers for January and February actually, and we had 27,000 arrivals coming in from China, and I think it was very weird, but there was, I think about 40% of that was coming in to join the cruise ships, because you can fly in and cruise out, right? As part of a Middle East itinerary. So they are cruising, the Chinese are cruising, which is, it's okay, you could argue off a small base to Wolfgang's point, but they, I think somewhere like, I suppose Middle East is a good option, isn't it? Because it's it's not, you don't have to fly as far as US or fly as far as Europe. It's a shorter flight to get to the Middle East to join a cruise, and you can cruise around Saudi, Jordan, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, quite easily.
Thank you. The second question is, do you think social media like WeChat has an impact in China's tourism market? Ralph, maybe you want to say something?
Of course it does. It's very, also in social media, a lot of things are always changing in China. Always new companies coming up, new startups coming up with new ideas, basically every day. But WeChat is really like the soil where everything goes. The king, yeah. I think you cannot do China without WeChat.
Alan, maybe you want to say something about WeChat?
Yes, actually, people talk about their experience on WeChat. Some are good, some are not good, but I think that's a very good advertisement to promote, both inbound and outbound.
Good knowledge sharing platform, basically.
Maybe to add one thing is, of course, WeChat is the number one in China, But you have to keep in mind there are a lot of Chinese people, including those we have here today, thank you for coming, who are living not in China, but outside of China. And you have 40 or 50 million Facebook accounts of Chinese people. So therefore, yes, Chinese social media are very important, but if you want to reach especially younger audiences, so don't forget that also Instagram and Facebook are also used by the younger Chinese people, and especially by those living outside of China. And this is a market which is easier to relate to because, well, they're already here. So not all Chinese people come from China when they travel let's say, in Europe.
Thank you. Last question is, how would you compare preferences of Chinese and European tourists? Anyone wants to take this?
Well, we need 24 hours.
Yeah, this is a long one.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to look more at what we call demand spaces rather than demographics or whatever. I mean, it's, you know, making sure that you're trying. So if you've got, you know, we've got great activities, so you want to promote what those activities are. If you've got great cuisine, then you should promote the cuisine. If you've got good art and culture, you should promote the art and culture. So I think it's going to be then more down to the individual's personal preferences. I think, of course, you should be, you know, make sure you're prepared from a language perspective. You've got, you know, the hotel should have, you know, Chinese channels on their TV. They should offer Chinese tea in the room. I think those sorts of things you can make the Chinese tourists feel more welcome. But I think, you know, I think now the world's become a smaller place. I think people's individual preferences is more about, you know, promoting what you can see and do in the destination, I think.
I think also coming out of the pandemic, mindsets globally have changed. So I think all travel patterns have changed. So it doesn't really matter if you're Chinese, European, or whatever. What I see from is all Asian countries now, it's also more a trend to slow down in travel, not necessarily try to cover Europe in 5 days, get more out of your trip. Also, the German tourist route, they have this saying, stay longer. So trying to experience more local life, instead of trying to rush like it was before pandemic. So I think the pandemic has changed a bit in the whole travel patterns, thinking, and so on.
Yeah. I would think one thing which is still true is that most Chinese travelers see themselves very much as Chinese travelers. So if you do something to them, good or bad, they will think more, they do this because I'm a Chinese. Oh, these people like Chinese, they did this nice thing to me. Whereas when I'm traveling, I never think that somebody is doing something good or bad to me because I'm a German. So that never crosses my mind. I don't care if there's a German flag flying outside of the hotel, but many of my Chinese friends say they're still happy to see the Chinese flag flying outside of the hotel. So I think this is something, this feeling, especially when you're outside of your own country, that you still feel, okay, I'm a Chinese, and whatever happens to me, they do this because I'm a Chinese. So this is, I think, something which means, therefore, better for us to show the respect which they, of course, also have earned over thousands of years. So to respect the Chinese culture, to offer Chinese language material, even the people can speak English, but to show, you are important for us. So we put a sign on our airport which in Chinese says departure, even so everybody is able to find the departure hall without these two Chinese characters. So this is something, I think, where you still have this group identity, especially if you're traveling internationally, which for Europeans is not so pronounced, I think.
Alan, maybe you want to add something on these Chinese foreign tourist preferences, or?
Yes, I think I just want to say one thing. I think the eating habits is very different for Chinese tourists compared to European tourists. You know, for instance, for Chinese people, they always ask for hot water, but that's very never for European tourists. So this kind of small things, I think we should keep in mind, just to provide good service to to Chinese tourists, to European tourists. These small things, but they're very important. You know, the people, they feel they are respected, and for them, that's really good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being appreciated and being, yeah, okay. Any closing remarks? Where we go in 2024?
Well, and of course, the point is that the world is so crazy and getting crazier by the day. So to predict the future has never been so hard than it is today. But I would say, well, if there's no black swan event coming, China is back. So there is no way for anybody in tourism to ignore the Chinese market. That is simply something you cannot do. And the key point is that I think we are moving in the Chinese market from a extensive period of quantitative growth now to an area of qualitative growth. And I think this is something we have to keep in mind. So product adaptation, more specifically for specific target groups, and not just the one-size-fits-all policies. But basically, it is clear that China is still the #1 market in the world.
Ralph?
I can only say life is for living, enjoy the moment, make the best out of it. And it's great that tourism industry, which is the peace industry, is back. And we have such an important role for the global community, and that is all our job, no matter where you are in the world.
Bringing people together.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, we're excited. I mean, as I said, we're prioritizing China. We're very much looking forward to welcoming more, Chinese visitors. We're doing, as I said, we're doing a lot of fam trips with the trade, a lot of journalists, a lot of bloggers, a lot of influencers, a lot of campaigns in the market to attract the market. So we look forward to welcoming the Chinese travelers to Qatar.
Helen?
So I think I want to say after the reopen to the world in March 2023, and China is getting ready for international tourists, and everybody, welcome to China.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's please give a big round of applause for our panelists. And thank you for the audience for attending one of the last sessions in the day. Thank you so much.